Welcome to Gen Z Hoops, the Gen Z basketball, coaching, and sports business show. On this podcast, you'll learn from professional players, coaches, and executives from all over the world and see the court in a brand new way. And now, joining you courtside, your Gen Z host, John Hartofilis.
Hey, good evening. This is Sam Pearson with my colleagues John Hartofilis and Alicia Solomon, and we're from Sports Business Classroom with Shot Talk. And we're doing a quick recap so far of the Golden State Warriors in Toronto. And we've had split the duties. One person is going to be Toronto and one person is going to be Golden State. So I'll let whoever wants to speak first.
Well, starting off, I think with the Warriors winning the game, this game was a contrast of styles. Both teams were going up and down. The Raptors dominated the glass. Our team was maybe moving the ball a little bit more, shooting really well from three. It was really just, as a game as a whole, really just a yin and yang, contrast of styles kind of game. And I had a lot of fun watching it, seeing these two teams go at it with these different styles. And at the end, we ended up pulling down a key rebound, maybe with something we weren't doing all game to close it out. But definitely overall, a game that I feel like both teams learned a lot from and both teams can get a lot better from at the Summer League, which is overall what we're trying to do here.
Okay.
Absolutely. And for the Raptors side of it, they just have to work on their half-court offense. I feel like with them going into the season and losing Kyle Lowry, they're going to have to figure out how to work this offense going forward. And I feel like Summer League is one of those places where a lot of these guys can show their ability to be on the roster this season. One thing that they just have to focus on is just pacing the floor on the court. I don't want to say this, but it's kind of raggedy, okay? The half court was kind of raggedy today. Okay. But it's a learning process with, Summer League here. So we have a couple more days left. Let's see what the Raptors do.
Okay. Is there any person in particular with point guard that you think might be a nice backup to Dragic?
I feel like they have a lot of different choices to go here. It just depends on what is the future for the Raptors. What are they trying to do here? Okay. I feel like they have a lot of different options to go, and one of the things that the Raptors have done well is develop players. Right. They actually lost the development coach to the Warriors this season. Yeah. They're still going to be struggling, but they do it well because they have it at the top with Masai and going down forward. I think developing them here, it's what's going to help them grow further to see where they want to go as their goal throughout the season.
Well, what about the Warriors? They've got two good, solid picks. They probably wanted to move up a little bit, but they didn't have the opportunity. What did you feel about the new rookies board?
It's interesting, right? Everyone going to the draft is talking about what are the Warriors going to do with their picks.
Right.
When it comes to trade talk regarding the draft, all eyes are on the Warriors. Looking at they have two lottery picks. What do they do with number 7, number 14? Holding on to it, we got two really good players in this draft. Jonathan Kuminga playing exceptionally well today. We use the Warriors used him in a lot of different sets. Whether it was offside out of bounds as a more of a facilitator coming off the top of the key, down to grabbing boards. He really did it all, and he kind of showed us some of that as to what the potential could be at the G League bubble. Not playing maybe exceptionally well in the G League bubble, right. But still maybe trying to do his thing, showing us that there's potential there. And if there's any team that can get the most out of a guy like that, it's the Golden State Warriors.
Well, let me put you on the spot here. Between Kuminga and Moody, who do you think has the best chance of cracking the rotation?
Because of his versatility, I have to go with Kuminga, because the Warriors are a team, right, that have so many guys, and you've got a Draymond that can play all these different positions, and then you've got Clay coming back. You have a couple spots that are set, right? No one's taking the point guard spot from Steph. That spot's not going anywhere.
Right, exactly.
But when it comes to that 3, 4, 5, Kuminga can find himself, right? He's such a Swiss Army knife. He can almost find himself anywhere. So I'd be curious to see exactly where he ends up finding his role in this Warriors team.
Right.
But with someone that can do so much, he'll find his way somewhere.
Okay. And for the Raptors, Princess Achua, you have Pascal Siakam. Do you see that the front court is getting a little beefy? They want to play a little more inside, because that goes against the trend of the NBA recently with three-pointers. And we've had the last couple of NBA champions, the Lakers and the Bucks. They've gotten big. They're not exactly the greatest three-point team. So do you think that the general manager, President Isaiah Ujiri, is trying to make a shift, or he's just looking for the best players?
I think he's just looking for the best option, and I think Achua showed that he's able to not only just play with the grit that he needs to, but also he'll be able to complement Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet. He's showing a good job that he doesn't need the ball in his hands. He can make the guys around him better. And so I think that's what they need going forward. And that's kind of pressure. You can't teach that.
Right.
Like a lot of guys with Summer League, it's me, and the option. They're trying to show what they have. And I think just showing that he is able to just play off the ball, let his teammates go, he's gonna flourish.
Okay. And I've noticed here that Scotty Barnes, even though he was picked higher than the two other picks here, he had an off night. How do you think he's going to respond? Because there's a lot of pressure being that within the top 5 selection. And he played well the other night against Jalen Suggs. Little off night. How do you think he's going to bounce back?
I think it's an adjustment process. Here at Summer League, they have about 10 fouls to get, and he used quite a lot of it in the first half tonight. But that's an adjustment process that he's going to have to go through. He's going to learn how those refs are going to call, in NBA games coming up this season. I think it's kind of pretty chaos because you're able to go through it here, but when you get to the season, he kind of is able to work with these coaches to know, like, hey, you can go, have a foul call here or, kind of play hard or kind of back off on somebody. I think it's just learning the curve of the NBA season, and this is the perfect place for them to do it, and this is where they develop, so a lot of these guys, they're going to go through it. First half, they're going to just hack, foul, do whatever. They're not going to know, how the NBA is going to be calling games, but this is the place where they learn how to do that.
Well, picking up on that point about how the NBA is calling games, I think what is underestimated is for the players, they want to learn their craft, but also with the referees. They need to get practice. They need to set a tone with regard to how the regular season is going to be called. And I've been kind of focusing on this unnatural three-point rule that we're going to see more enforced. Now, I think it's a good thing that the youngsters are getting that. But how do you think that's going to impact people like James Harden when they stick out the leg? They've been using this to get away with a couple of cheap three-pointers. What is your feeling on that?
So the NBA is right. It's a game. It's a game of inches, right? It's a game of one point can decide a whole game. One mix can decide a whole game. And things like that, right? Those calls are game changers. And Summer League's the best place to try those out. And that's kind of the beauty of Summer League. We're not just looking at evaluating players. We're not even just evaluating coaches. We're evaluating officials. We're evaluating executives, everything, scorekeepers, the people that sweep up the floor. We're evaluating everybody, and that's maybe what Summer League does, because it's not just evaluating, but improving on things. Right. So everyone's kind of experimenting with these things. Now, for some guys, it'll impact them more than others, like a James Harden, who that might be a great source of his point total, right? And Trae Young, there's so many more we can mention. So thinking about those guys will be impacted by it the most. But these rookies now getting it early and learn and getting to adjust to that as soon as possible. Let's say it's something we didn't have this opportunity. They'd be going to an NBA season fresh without having ever played under these circumstances, now learning that. Yeah. So it's a great thing that we have the opportunity of Summer League to kind of work those kinks out.
Well, Alicia, do you want to add something to that? We're running low on time here.
I think that the NBA is just growing, and it's just showing how it's evolved. I think replay has played a factor in all of this, a lot of these games are just going on for an extraordinary amount of time, because everyone is review, and they're trying to get all the points, of course so, But I think with that foul rule coming in, it's going to change a lot of guys' games. And we're going to see James Harden, like you mentioned, is one of those guys who he uses that to his advantage to get to the free throw line. If he doesn't have his shot going, he's putting himself, his body on the line, going into them. So I think that learning that adjustment this season is going to be interesting in the first half.
Great. Thank you both. Fantastic analysis. And we're going to wrap up this evening. We still have the Lakers versus the Knicks. So for behalf of my colleagues, this is Sam Pearson for Sports Business Shot Talk. Have a good evening and see you in about maybe hour and a half. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Gen Z Hoops. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe on Instagram, LinkedIn, and all major social media platforms at Gen Z Hoops. You can tune in and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and every other podcast platform on the planet. Get ready for the next episode.